Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Saints back out on the practice field today in Irvine. They'll be there through Friday. Then they'll pack up, go play a preseason game on Sunday, and then come on back to South Louisiana to get ready for the opener. The final preseason game, and then the opener against Carolina. So it seems like a really long time in Irvine, California, but honestly, when you look at it, it's only about 4 weeks, and then they come on back and get ready to play a real game. So first game of no consequence was back on Saturday. Saints got a win near the buzzer there with a field goal to beat Arizona. Sharief, the Saints got the win. I'm thinking 17-0 is on the table. Do you think so?
17-0. I think we're talking about 20-0. Does that include, 20 or 21-0 if they get to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, well, you can count the preseason games if you want to. 24, 25-0, whatever the case may be. I think they're looking like an unbeaten franchise at this point.
Yep, 23-0. There we go. Let's do it.
Did you take anything of substance from the game on Saturday night?
Well, the first team offense looked like absolute mess.
Yeah?
If I can curse on your show, I would, but I don't want to get fired on a Tuesday. And I understand that they weren't showing anything. They were keeping it vanilla, but not showing anything doesn't mean you still can't show me something. And I'm talking about preferably the quarterback and the offensive line. Trevor Penning is a mess.
Yeah.
I think we've continued to say that. Somebody put out a video, I think I saw it yesterday, that Trevor Penning just does not initiate the contact and does not meet the defensive lineman at the point of attack, which is true. If you're a mauler, I just want Trevor Penning to get back to his rookie year whenever he was a mauler, creating havoc, getting into fights with his teammates during training camp. I feel like ever since that, he's just gone backwards. I don't understand. But I will say that Trevor Taliese Fuaga played pretty good. Of all the offensive linemen, he played pretty good. And Derek Carr can't miss a throw like that to Chris Olave down the sideline. I understand he had pressure in his face, but even he would tell you he should have made that throw and hooked up with Chris Olave. But outside of that, I'm not going to make sweeping judgments about the offense because it's so vanilla and basic, but you still have to show certain things whenever you play in these games in terms of individual performances.
Well, let's talk about Penning briefly because I don't think this conversation is going to go on very long with him. But there's only one way for a guy who's 6'7", 330 pounds or whatever he is to end up getting bullied the way he does quite often. And it's the only way that can happen is if you let them bring the punch to you. If he delivers the punch, nobody's going to knock him backwards. That's just not going to. He's too big.
Right. You're absolutely correct. A guy that size should be initiating contact and not letting someone go for him. It's just like you getting into a fight, big dude versus small dude. The big dude should be initiating the contact 24/7 during that fight. You go after somebody. For some reason, he is playing the role of the small guy. He is just sitting back and waiting for the contact. Why? Go up there and be the mauler that they drafted you to be in 2022 and show them that you can actually be a decent piece at right tackle on that offensive line. Just a decent piece. But he's continuing to show that he can't do it. And that's not a great sign for Derek Carr if he can't play right tackle.
You've seen far more of A.T. Perry than we have, certainly in practice. The thought is that maybe not the best practice player, but then they get out there in the preseason games and he tends to make a play more often than not. Do you buy into the notion that A.T. Perry might be a gamer?
Let me go into TV terms. Some people are good at taping and some people are good at live. A.T. Perry is good at live, struggles during training camp practices. I am buying him being a fourth or fifth option. I'm not buying him being like anything beyond 4 or 5, but that's what you need him to be. You're not asking him to be the guy right next to Chris and Rashid, but I'm okay with him being in the 4 or 5. You just need somebody to get you 35, 40 catches a year at his position. So yeah, it'd be great to show it in practice, but if he shows it in the game, that's all that really matters. Some people aren't that great of practice players. Even Marshawn Lattimore at times isn't great at being a practice player, but he's awesome in the game.
Let's flip to defense then. Let's talk about specifically the front. First, Chase Young, was he, for that brief time he was in, the same guy you saw in practice? And then we'll get to Brian Bresee after that.
Yeah, I thought he was, for his snaps, I thought he played pretty well. I thought the entire defensive line played well. The pressure was magnificent from start to finish from all the players who played in that game. Now, I understand they were going against the second-team offense when they started the game and no Kyler Murray, but still, I thought the defensive line did its job for the most part. Bless you, if that was you who sneezed.
That was back.
But I think, oh, well, bless you. So I just think that it was the defensive line did a good job. I do think Chase is, you remember, he's still coming back from the off-season neck surgery, but I still think that, like, if this isn't him at full potential, I'd be scared if I'm an offensive lineman when he's at full potential, because what I've seen so far is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been great. Brian Bresee, I thought, flashed on a couple of plays. Nice spin move to get back into the backfield. I liked what I saw from him as a rookie, and I liked what I saw in the abbreviated time. But again, you've seen more training camp than I have. Yeah,
I mean, Brian Bresee, he missed a few practices with that foot. He told me he had like a plantar fasciitis that he was dealing with, but he came back after missing like 3 or 4 practices and fine. I mean, he and Carl Granderson looked good. And again, they had the sandwich sack on Desmond Ridder, who, by the way, is not a good quarterback.
Nope.
You should know that by now. But yeah, Brian Bresee knows that this year he has to work on his run defense. That's the one thing that, he came into camp knowing that he had to work on, because a guy his size necessarily isn't the greatest at being a run defender, but he also was watching tape of Chris Jones and Fletcher Cox just to learn a little bit more about playing run defense. So, I mean, this is a chance for him to separate himself from his rookie to his second season in the NFL. The pass rush was fine for him. I mean, 4.5 sacks, I think that's a plus to get as a defensive tackle. But once you add in your run game defense, I think that, makes you an even better defensive lineman.
Dennis Allen kind of downplayed the significance of missing the joint practices with San Francisco. You've also seen a lot of those in your day. I mean, is that a bad thing for the Saints not to be able to go through some of those workouts with one of the best rosters in the NFL?
Absolutely. Those joint practices are way better than any games you're going to play. And I think by now any person who watches football knows that is absolutely the case. You want to go against one of the best teams in the NFL in a joint practice, because that's where I think you learn who you are. And not being able to go against the 49ers, who for some reason are way more banged up than the Saints, which is crazy to think a team that has more injuries than the Saints had to call off a joint practice. I think Dennis is disappointed. I think the team is just disappointed because they like those joint practices. That's one of the reasons why they go to the West Coast, is to get some of those joint practices against, whether if it's the 49ers, the Rams, the Chargers, anybody. It's a disappointment not to have one of those joint practices this training camp. Now they're just going to go into the game and going against a team that's going to be banged up, which means Derek Carr and that offense, they're going to have to get a few extra series in this game instead of, maybe fewer series because they had those joint practices, but not the case. So they're going to play a little bit more, which they need to in this offense.
So that's my next question. I'm not saying what do you think Dennis Allen's going to do if you were the coach of the Saints? Like, how would you handle the snaps for a few guys in this setting? Who do you think this is an important game for? Who do you want to see out there playing?
I want to see Derek Carr,
yep,
the entire offensive line, all your receivers that are healthy, all your tight ends that are healthy, all your running backs that are healthy, and I want to see them play 3 or 4 series. I mean, point blank. You need time on task in Kubiak's offense. It's just not going to get better by doing it in practice. You have to do it in live setting when the red lights are on. So I need to see them play those guys 3 or 4 series, and they need to have sustainable drives, not 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. And, you sit down and you're thinking, oh, well, we didn't show anything. That's fine if you don't want to show anything on offense, but you have to execute. Without executing, then you're not showing your fan base or yourself that you're, progressing in Clint Kubiak's offense.
Who do you think's going to win the backup quarterback role?
Whew, it was a really good game for both Jake and Spencer. I'll be honest with you. Each guy did something really good. Jake completed more passes. I thought both of them were good at getting outside the pocket. I enjoyed watching Spencer Rattler lead the game-winning drive at the end of the game. It's going to be close, Hunt. The one thing I say about Spencer, it started slow for him in camp, and it's trending upwards. And that's a good thing for a rookie. He's got the potential. We've seen it. Saw it on QB1 when he was in high school. Had those issues, the troubles. Then at Oklahoma and South Carolina, he's like a wild quarterback, gunslinger, can make some mistakes, but the arm talent is there. He's got some zip on his ball. So right now, I kind of give the slight edge to Spencer Rattler. That's just me.
All right, we shall see. They'll probably get a lot of time coming up on Sunday. We'll talk next week, Sharief. Thanks.
Anytime, Hunt.
Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, Help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.